past decade has been characterized by exponential change we've never seen before. Social and economic, cultural forces, they've all culminated in a new set of disruptions. And these disruptions, they've impacted the world, and therefore, they've impacted the world of work. For the past century, we've been governed by a mechanist view of work. That is, work has been organized in a way that's fixed and repeatable into tasks and grouped into very well-defined jobs. And it's worked. Transformation, as a result, has focused on delivering the same outcomes through faster and more efficient models. In recent years, these models, they've been challenged, and they've been challenged hard as organizations and workers grapple together with disruption and discontinuity.
Here at Deloitte, we believe this is just the beginning. As we enter 2023, change is entering the workplace at a blistering pace. The boundaries that once were assumed the natural order of things are falling away. Perceptions that economic growth is slowing, the fear of an impending recession, and rising costs of living are putting increased pressure on organizations to do more with less.
The rules of engagement between workers and organizations are shifting. A hot labor market, a rise in stakeholder capitalism, and shifts in the composition of the workforce are putting increased pressure on both workers and organizations to question the very foundation of how, where, and why we work. Without an option to return to the past or go back to business as usual, organizations and workers must traverse this new landscape together. In Deloitte's 2023 Global Human Capital Trends Report, we call on a new set of fundamentals to help organizations and workers navigate a boundaryless world.
We surveyed over 10,000 professionals across global businesses and HR organizations from 139 countries to hear from real people like yourself about what's top of mind when it comes to work, the workforce, and the workplace. So what did we find? The greatest barrier to achieving organizational outcomes is being overwhelmed by too many changes at once. But the disillusion of the boundaries that we once assumed to be fixed is creating new opportunities for organizations and workers who are prepared to show up in fundamentally different ways.
These new fundamentals require organizations and workers to frame the challenge differently, to think like a researcher in how they approach their business and workforce strategies. These new fundamentals call on organizations and workers to chart a different path, to co-create their relationship in pursuit of new and evolving purpose, innovation, and reimagination. And finally, these new fundamentals require organizations and workers to design for impact, to prioritize human outcomes and approach strategies from a human lens, to be for humans and by humans.
3 of this year's global human capital trends exemplify the need for organizations and workers to think like a researcher. Number 1 of those is navigating the end of jobs. Since the industrial age, the job has been the anchor and the defining structure for organizing and managing every aspect of work. However, today a skills-based approach is what is needed to replace jobs as that focal point for matching workers with work.
Number 2, powering human impact with technology. The boundary between humans and technology as separate forces continues to disappear. New workplace technologies are emerging that don't just augment human workers, but actually help them improve their own personal and teaming capabilities. Number 3, activating the future of workplace. Today, the ideal workplace isn't just a physical site. It's wherever the work is best done. Organizations need to challenge traditional boundaries and design physical, digital, or hybrid environments that fit varying work needs while respecting worker preferences.
3 of this year's global human capital trends exemplify the need for organizations and workers to co-create their relationship. Number 1, negotiating worker data. The boundary between worker-owned data and organization-owned data is becoming blurred. As organizations continue to expand the worker data they collect, a negotiation is emerging over who controls that data and how it gets used, and how to use that data to benefit organizations and workers alike.
Number 2, harnessing worker agency. Workers today have more choice and influence than ever before. The opportunity is for business leaders to harness worker passion in service of mutual benefits for the organization, for the worker, and for the world as a whole. Number 3, unlocking the workforce ecosystem. Organizations rely on a wide spectrum of non-traditional workers for skills and activities, but their workforce strategies and practices are still designed primarily for traditional workers. A successful, all-inclusive, boundaryless workforce ecosystem will require a wider approach, one with new workforce strategies, processes, systems, and programs, all designed with the entire workforce in mind.
3 of this year's global human capital trends exemplify the need for organizations and workers to prioritize human outcomes. The first of these is taking bold action for equitable outcomes. Diversity, equity, and inclusion progress has traditionally been measured based on activities and effort, often without little consideration for actual outcomes achieved. Organizations will now be held accountable less for their activities and efforts, and more for their ability to achieve these equitable outcomes in support of larger societal goals.
Number 2, advancing the human element of sustainability. The boundary of the organization as a fully autonomous entity separate from the interests of society at large is blurring. Moving forward, organizations must focus on the human elements, which have been largely absent in their strategies and actions to date. They must look at hardwiring sustainability into the workforce and work itself. Number 3, elevating the focus on human risk. Executives who do not prioritize a broader, more human-centric approach to risk management could find themselves at odds with board members and other influential stakeholders who are increasingly interested in how human risks are being managed.
As organizations grapple with a growing list of disruptive external risks, they can no longer focus on solely the operational and financial effects of those risks. In this new world, organizations should expand their view of human risk beyond compliance and reporting to consider how a broad set of risks are impacting humans both inside and adjacent to the organization. Your organization and its leaders are facing a pivotal reframing moment as business and societal shifts continue to change the world of work. How do you lead in a boundaryless world in which work is no longer defined by jobs? The workplace isn't a specific place. Many of the most important workers aren't traditional workers, and leadership isn't determined by organizational chart.
Leaders must evolve in tandem with their organizations and adopt a new set of fundamentals to mobilize workers and teams against new outcomes. We have an opportunity to capture the possibilities this boundaryless world can create for leaders, for organizations, for workers, and for society at large as we build a more equitable and human future. Are you ready to embrace the possibilities?